Welcome back. Today we are making this delicious and super moist carrot cake sheet cake. I really love this recipe because it comes together in one bowl and can be made by hand. The only thing is that you do need about 2.5 cups of grated carrots, and I found that actually using a microplane creates the best texture in this cake. It is quite a bit of work though, so if you use pre-shredded carrots or like an attachment on your KitchenAid to shred your carrots, that would work too. Once our carrots are ready to go, it's time to work on our batter. We're adding 1 cup of light brown sugar along with 1 cup of granulated sugar and 1 cup of canola oil into our bowl. Now you can use light or dark brown sugar, and you can also use any flavorless oil here. And we want to whisk together our sugar and our oil until it comes together like this. Then it's time to add in our eggs. I like to give them a quick scramble before adding them into my batter just to make them easier to mix in. Then it's time to start working on our dry ingredients. So we're sifting in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then half of our all-purpose flour. So we're adding essentially 1 1/4 cups here. We're going to sift this into our batter and whisk it together just until it's incorporated. We want to be sure that we don't overmix our batter so that our cake ends up nice and tender. Next, we're whisking in 1/2 cup of buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk on hand, you can also use sour cream or full-fat yogurt in its place. And now it's time to add in our warm spices. We're adding 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. We're then going to add in the rest of our all-purpose flour and sift that into our mixture. I'm mixing this together just until I can't see any more streaks of flour. And then our very last ingredient that we need to add is our carrots. So we're adding 2.5 cups of finely grated carrots into the mixture and folding them in with a rubber spatula. Now I know this doesn't look too appealing right now, but I promise it's going to bake up into the most delicious carrot cake sheet cake. Now half the battle when you're making a sheet cake is preparing your pan properly. I like to use a ton of parchment paper and then actually clip the overhanging parchment paper with metal binder clips to help keep it in place while I pour my batter and while the cake bakes. I also use these flour nails, which I place upside down, and I spray very generously with some nonstick spray to help conduct heat into the center of your cake layer as it bakes. This helps your cake bake more evenly and quickly. And don't worry if your flour nails move a bit while you're pouring your batter, just reposition them before popping your cake into a preheated 325-degree oven for 40 to 45 minutes. While our cake layer bakes, we're going to work on our cream cheese frosting. We're adding 1/2 cup of unsalted butter and 1/2 cup of full-fat cream cheese into a bowl and creaming them together. These are both at room temperature, and it's really important that they are so they mix together properly. Then we're adding in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1/2 teaspoon of salt and mixing those in. Next, it's time to slowly incorporate our powdered sugar. So I have a 1-pound bag of powdered sugar here, which is the equivalent of about 3.5 cups of powdered sugar. I like to add in about half of it, mix it together, and scrape the sides to really make sure all that powdered sugar is getting mixed in. Then I add the rest of our powdered sugar along with 1 tablespoon of heavy cream and mix until the frosting is super smooth. I like to start on a low speed when I'm incorporating my powdered sugar, and then I start to slowly increase the speed to incorporate some air into our frosting to make it really fluffy and silky smooth, as you can see here. Once our frosting is all ready to go, I like to cover it with plastic wrap and set it aside. And then when our cake layer is fully cooled, I very carefully pop out our flour nails. This is when you'll thank yourself for really heavily spraying your flour nails with nonstick spray. Now it's finally time to frost our sheet cake, and I've added a generous amount of our cream cheese frosting on top of this, and then I'm just spreading it out using a large offset spatula. To decorate this cake, I decided to color my remaining frosting orange and green with a bit of gel food coloring, kind of dabbed it all over the top of our cake, and then smeared it together using my offset spatula. This creates kind of a fun swirled pattern that makes a really pretty background for the carrots that I'm then going to pipe on top of it. So you can decorate your cake in any way. You could even leave it just with the colorful swirls on top. I just wanted to make this a little bit more fun. Once all of my frosting carrots were in place, it was finally time to cut into this cake. So I used a sharp knife and attempted to cut evenly sized pieces. But of course I ended up giving myself one of the biggest pieces, and I'm so happy I did because this cake is absolutely delicious. It is so packed with flavor and so incredibly moist. If you guys want to recreate this easy carrot cake sheet cake recipe, it's up on Chelsweets.com.